a lefty attitude. It can be also attributed to the problem of agreeing too much. So they when they don't have so many contradictions in the culture. So if the enough big number of people are convinced about some radical idea, then they do it. So they put it through. So like the Americans did during the Prohibition, when they were much more similar to each other ethnically than they are today. I don't know. This can be that can be it, but we don't know. Which is very funny. Sweden was radical before socialism. Up till 1820, it was prohibited for normal Swedish subjects to leave the country. So when this prohibition was abandoned, was no more, then many millions of Swedes immigrated to United States, Canada, and so on, mostly United States. So Swedes are one of those nations which practically moved across the ocean, like maybe not to that extent as the Irish, which are inhabiting today mostly America, not Europe, or the Portuguese the same. But to a huge extent, there's a nation that emigrated. There is the number of people, Americans of Swedish descent, is similar to the number of Swedes in Europe. Students mentioned ABBA. ABBA is the Swedes have a huge advantage in being polyglots, so they learn English very easily. So they have many English-speaking pop groups, but ABBA is like the only one over all the others. It's not like the Swedish pop singers are always the best. Myself, I like only Knowing Me, Knowing You song, but all the others are just irrelevant to me. But it's I mean in style. I'm not now referring to the content, but that's true that ABBA was something very special. It's not like every Swedish pop group is so automatically so popular. So it's not a stereotype. It's a monotype. It's an exception. Multiculti, of course, multiculturalism. Multiculturalism, it's not possessing many cultures. It's some sort of politics that wants to preserve this diversity. And the typical example is the British approach, when they had the Hindu, the Indian British, the Pakistani British, and they were supposed, like decade ago, several years ago, to be taught in those schools mostly about India and Pakistan, not about Britain, during history lessons. So this was largely abandoned in Britain. But this is the multiculturalism. This is the opposite of melting pot. I don't know if the Swedes are the opposite of melting pot. I don't know. The Swedish attack on us in 17th century is mentioned in 1655, and this is to the credit of my students. They knew that we didn't really fought them back. We just bribed the Brandenburgians to change sides. Okay. So they don't like Norwegian people. The people of Scandinavia, the peoples of Scandinavia dislike each other to some extent, and it's very striking because they are so much about public political correctness sometimes, and at the same time they are sometimes very politically incorrect. For instance, I cannot imagine a scene, and it was a scene in a Swedish movie. Of course, it was kind of comedy, but still, there was a film about the Swedish attempts to make the kitchen work more good working in a good way, and they were measuring the way that was made by people in the kitchen to arrange the kitchen in such a way to make this, to save them some kilometers of walking around during the many years of using the kitchen. So very Swedish progressive idea. And this was a film those Swedish